Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Field Guide. Great episode today. Might be a little bit of a long one, so prepare for that. But as we always do, let's start out with the Twitter. Poll of the day is which QB is starting day one for the Texans? We got Deshaun Watson, Tyrod Taylor, or a rookie. It's going to be tough for a rookie to start, in my opinion, as they don't have any top picks. But maybe. I mean, you never know. So that actually leads right into the episode of the video. So let's get right to it. So today we are predicting all the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Today we're only going to do the AFC. I'm going to split this into two parts so it's not an hour-long video. So we'll do the AFC this Saturday, and then we'll have the video on Wednesday, and then we'll do part 2 with the NFC on next Saturday. So don't worry, it'll be out soon enough. So let's just get right into that. Starting off, I'm doing this by divisions, and we're going to start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC North. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. We got Big Ben is going to be the starter, unless injuries happen, which all of these are without injuries. But I have Big Ben. I don't know how I feel about it. Fantasy-wise, probably a decent starter. I mean, they're going to throw the ball with him a lot. So he still has all of his receivers. You got Claypool, Juju, Deontay. The only thing he doesn't have is that running back with him right now. But I think they're going to draft one, whether it be Najee Harris, Etienne, or Javonte Williams. But yeah, Big Ben's going to be the starter here. Pretty self-explanatory. Staying in the AFC North, we have the Bengals. Another self-explanatory one. We have Joe Burrow. He was having a great rookie season last year. It was just cut short by injury. It's a big debate on who would you rather have, Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's in the perfect situation with his team, and Justin Herbert's in a totally different situation with his team. Like, it's hard to compare the two, but obviously right now, Justin Herbert's having a better career, but Joe Burrow could step it up. You just never know. And it seems like they're building the offensive line around him, and that wide receiver group is very good as well. I'm pretty confident that they're going to draft one, whether it be in the first round or the second round. But I think they're going to get him a playmaker on the perimeter. So Joe Burrow is going to be probably around that Big Ben tier with the average starter. I wouldn't expect him to do anything more than that yet, unless he gets like a Jamar Chase or a Kyle Pitts. But I think for now, that same tier as Big Ben is a good one for him. Next we have the Browns, another pretty easy one. This division is probably pretty predictable in who their QBs are going to be. So we have Baker Mayfield. He really turned it up towards last year, not fantasy-wise, because he wasn't throwing the ball that much. But I think he's going to have a really good bounce-back year this year with Odell coming back, Jarvis Landry still there. Got Austin Hooper, who learned the offense. You got, obviously, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield. He's got all the pieces around him. So this is a make or break year for Baker Mayfield, and I think this Browns team is gonna be pretty good. Fantasy wise, I'd say he's a little bit less than Big Ben and Joe Burrow just because it's a run heavy offense. But maybe a waiver wire pickup if you have a QB on bye or you have a QB that's injured and you haven't found that permanent replacement yet. He's reliable. He'll probably give you 15 at least. But probably not much higher than that either. Probably a 15 to 16 range quarterback for me. So finishing off the AFC North with the Ravens, we have another one obvious, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, I expect him to be a top 5 QB this year, fantasy-wise. He started off slow last year, but he really started to pick it up with his running ability, his throwing ability. I hope they get him a weapon in this year's draft. They just got him Sammy Watkins, which is big, but he needs that true number one that he can go to. And then you'll have, if he has Sammy Watkins, Marquise Brown, and another one, whoever it may be, and Mark Andrews with a good running back to rely on with J.K. Dobbins, it's a pretty good setup for him. And towards the end of the year, he was creeping up to that top 5 quarterback. So I think he's going to pick up right where he left off and maybe be back to MVP form. Next up, we have the AFC South. Starting off with the Colts. This one's a pretty easy one. They made a big trade. They have Carson Wentz. So Carson Wentz, I expect him to be good next year. I think he's going to be on the tier above the Big Ben and Joe Burrow. I think he's going to put up 20 points a game. He's got the receivers to go with him. He's got the offensive coordinator where the last time Frank Reich was his offensive coordinator, he was an MVP type player. So I think he's going to get back to that form. Maybe not. I definitely not the MVP form. But I do think he's going to be back to form with. He's going to have Paris Hilton, Michael Pittman, Jack Doyle, and T.Y. Hilton coming back with Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, Nyheim Hines, and the defense to rely on. So this is a really good situation for Carson Wentz, and I think he's going to really be good next year. So next in the AFC South, we have the Houston Texans. This one was tough. I'm going to tell you right now, I did not pick Deshaun Watson. I just don't think it's a smart pick right now with everything that's going on with him. You have no idea what's going to happen. So I went with Tyrod Taylor back in his Bills days, and the picture shows. Because Tyrod Taylor hasn't played that much in a while. I mean, he played last year a little bit, and he showed that he can still be a good quarterback. So I think he's not going to be good enough to save this Texans team. I mean, this Texans team is a dumpster fire right now, to say the least. But he's going to be, I see him as a bridge quarterback, unless they keep Deshaun Watson and they're just waiting for that whole situation to pan out. But I do see Tyrod Taylor starting off the year for this team. And he's definitely not worth a fantasy roster spot. I mean, he's not what he used to be running the ball with all of his injuries that he's had, and throwing the ball was never his specialty. So we'll see, but I would not draft him at all. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another easy one. There should be. We're going to have Trevor Lawrence. He is going to be expected to do big things, but I don't think the coaching staff is just going to throw him into that role yet. As I've said before, I think they're going to ease him in. They're going to rely on the run pretty heavily with James Robinson, and they just signed Carlos Hyde. I think they're gearing up to be a run-heavy offense at first, but he could be, next year, he could have an impact like Justin Herbert. Probably won't. I don't expect him to, but he could. I mean, he's that good. He's probably a better athlete than Justin Herbert, and he's got all the same arm talent. So he could have a big impact next year, but I just expect it to be later down the line if it even does happen. So don't expect him to do anything big. I would draft him if it was a late pick where you didn't like anybody on the board and he was just there, because there's a chance that he is that good. But definitely not early, not with the top tier quarterbacks. Next up, the Tennessee Titans, the last team in the AFC South. So it's another easy one. We've had pretty easy ones so far, except for the Texans. Ryan Tannehill, his arm got chopped off a little bit. That's my fault. But Ryan Tannehill's just been that guy for the Titans. I mean, he's been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL, and he just provides that passing ability and that play action ability with Derrick Henry. That shows to be so potent in that offense. Not much to say here. Ryan Tannehill was, I wouldn't say a top tier starter last year, but he was above average. I know I started him in my championship game, but I think he's going to average about 20. 18 to 20 is probably about where he is. He's teetering on the average, but I think he's going to be above average before the year's over. Next up, next division is the AFC East. We're starting off with the Patriots. Now this one was kind of tough. as they have the opportunity to maybe trade up and draft a quarterback, which they still could do, but I'm going to go with Cam Newton is going to start off the season being the starter. He could very well lose his spot if they do draft a quarterback, but I do see him in the second year of the offense, knowing the offense more, but maybe towards the middle of the year, as we see all the time, the rookie quarterback will get his chance to show himself, and if he does good, he becomes a starter. But definitely Cam Newton's going to be the starter week 1, unless the way I can see it is if they trade up and draft Justin Fields. Justin Fields is much more game ready than a guy like Trey Lance, but I still expect Cam to be the starter at first and sit on your rookie quarterback just for a little bit. So this one wasn't too hard, but it could go some different ways. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills. Super easy one. MVP candidate Josh Allen. He's going to be up in those conversations again this year, in my opinion. Once they get that running back, which I think they will, they should be a very dynamic team. That offense is going to be scary, and if they get things figured out on defense, it's going to be a really, really good team. But, I think Josh Allen is going to be a top quarterback, as he was last year in fantasy. He has all the talent. He's going to run the ball when he needs him to, and he's going to get those throws. I mean, his arm is one of the craziest we've ever seen, and he showed last year that he can throw it with accuracy too. And Stephon Diggs is going to help him a lot with that, especially in the second year. Stephon Diggs' second year in that system. I mean, the sky's the limit for this offense, in my opinion. So it's not too hard there. Next up, we have the Jets. This one is pretty easy. I have Zach Wilson. Don't know why he's in black and white. But Zach Wilson is going to be the starter, in my opinion. If they don't draft him number 2, the only thing else I could see is them drafting Justin Fields, which I wouldn't agree with, but I could get it. And with them trading away Sam Darnold, it's pretty clear that they're going to take a QB. And with Zach Wilson, he's the perennial number 2 QB in this class behind Trevor Lawrence, it seems like. So not too hard there. I wouldn't expect too much from Zach Wilson. He could have a breakout year, but he just doesn't have the weapons that, say, like Justin Herbert had last year with Keenan Allen. And even Trevor Lawrence has probably better weapons than Zach Wilson does. So don't be expecting him to do too much right away. He could be a special talent, but it doesn't always work out that way. But next up, we have Miami Dolphins. This one's another easy one with Tua. So Tua is definitely going to be the starter this year. He has some question marks. They don't know if he can really push the ball down the field. They don't know if he's a winning quarterback. He's more of a game manager, not going to make any mistakes, not going to take any risks, but he's not going to have any of those big plays either. And we had a small sample size last year, and who knows what he's really going to be. But I think he's going to be better than he was last year, but not in fantasy. I don't think he's worth a roster spot in fantasy. There's a chance. I mean, if he's there, one of your last picks, and you take him just on the chance that he's going to be slinging it. I mean, he's going to have Will Fuller, except for week 1. He's going to have Will Fuller, Devontae Parker. I think they're going to draft a receiver or Kyle Pitts if he falls. So Tua could be really good next year, but he just doesn't take enough risks to be a top fantasy quarterback for me. But next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. Super, super, super easy one. Most easiest one on here, Chad Henne. I'm just kidding. It's Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I mean, not much to say here. Fantasy-wise, he's probably going to be the best quarterback next year, unless we see another Aaron Rodgers performance. But I think Patrick Mahomes, coming off that Super Bowl loss, is going to be fired up to do great things. So be ready for that. And then we got next the Chargers, another easy one, Justin Herbert. I expect him to be a really, really good fantasy quarterback next year, but there's a chance that he's not as good as he was last year because he's going to have a new system playing, as he just lost his coach and his coaching staff. But he's a very smart kid, so he'll figure it out. I don't have any problems with that. but I expect him to be a top 10 quarterback at least next year. So yeah, he's one of the good ones, and he's really young too, so keep an eye out for him. Raiders are next. Another easy one. We got Derek Carr. Derek Carr he's different. He's really, really good in the first half of the year, every year. But then once Thanksgiving hits, it seems the team just like falls off. And Derek Carr doesn't look that good. The offensive line doesn't look that good, which could be hurting him. But Derek Carr is on that average QB tier for me with like Big Ben and Joe Burrow. But he's reliable. As of right now, he doesn't have the greatest weapons. They signed Kenyon Drake to back up Josh Jacobs. So whatever you want to do with that, I don't know how much that helps Derek Carr. But he's going to be average. Maybe he proves me wrong and he comes out and is a top 10 quarterback, but I just can't see it at this point in his career. Can't see him getting any much better than he already has been. So lastly, we have the Denver Broncos, and this one is a strange one in my opinion. I have the Denver Broncos trading up in the draft and taking Justin Fields. Now, as a Broncos fan, as you can obviously see with the Von Miller jersey in the back, I would like this. I am a fan of Drew Lock, I'm not going to lie. But if we can get a guy like Justin Fields who's game ready to play, and has shown that he can succeed in the big time games, as he did in the game against Clemson and the Big Ten championship, he's really good. And I'm ready if this happens, and I do think the Broncos will do this, so this will be a good move. I don't know if Justin Fields will be a good fantasy quarterback right away, but out of all the rookies, I think if he goes to the Broncos, he would have a big time chance to be the best rookie, just because of all the weapons we have. We got Cortland Sutton coming back, Jerry Jeudy on the other side, KJ Hamler in the slot, you got Tim Patrick still as a fourth option, and you got Noah Fant and Albert O. I mean, the weapons are incredible, and Melvin Gordon's still really good, and their defense is getting better that he can rely on. So the situation would be perfect for Justin Fields if he fell, or if Denver traded up to get him, or he fell. I don't see him falling past, well, maybe the Lions could take him, but we'll talk about the draft some other time. But that's going to do it. That is the last team. And next week will be NFC, so I'll see you Wednesday. The Twitter will be in the description. Like and subscribe. Share the video. I have something big coming out pretty soon. I'm really excited about it. Can't wait to start it. So thanks for watching. See you Wednesday.